All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Albert Vartanian here, James Sharman, Justin Pooney. Let's talk some Jays. How about getting some scorers and runners in scoring position? It actually happened.
Kevin Gosman's probably punching air.
Poor Gosman, dude.
Silently, just like, what is going on here? Now you decide to hit the...
Yeah, they got some run support. Really good first inning from the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to have the Zoobs on shortly. We haven't chatted to him about Manoah really going down. And this score line that we just saw, this run line is unbelievable. 2.2 innings pitched, 11 earned runs, 10 hits, 2 home runs, 3 Ks. We talked about this kind of ad nauseum, but some former players on Twitter weighed in, and one being Brandon McCarthy, who had this to say. He goes, this is probably a smaller deal than it looks. If he's working on very specific things in the zone, super aggressive minor league hitters will tee off. If he was trying to be competitive, then Another former major leaguer weighed in, and Deck McGuire. He goes, the amount of big leaguers that get waffled in the MILB is insane. This is more than likely means nothing. Most of the kids in the complex league would swing at the rosin bag. He also said his first start in 2011, he watched Brandon Morrow give up 9 in 3 innings and then come up and struck out 17 in the pros. Then you had Jared Weaver, Dreamweaver. He replied to it. He goes, talking about Manoah, or he's had success and doesn't want to work at it because he thinks it's easy after a great season.
Big time Charlieism.
I love that. And then you had Marcus Stroman, of course. I can't wait for Manoah to get back to the MLB and make y'all eat your words. All of you clowns hating on another man is just a projection of your own insecurities and life struggles. Times like these are when true athletes are transformed. Looking forward to his return.
Seems that Stroh is like hating on us. Right,
yeah, he's
well.
upset.
So
He's
what does that tell you
upset.
about Stroh?
Why is he always so angry?
He's always angry.
Let's bring in the Zoobs right now. Hey, Zoobs, thanks for joining us as always. Which camp, which side are you on here? Is it an overreaction? Should we understand what's going on over there? Are you pissed off at everybody like Marcus Stroman?
I mean, I'm not arguing with the straw man in a way that Stroman is. We're just so, it sort of strikes me as like everybody wants to run to like it's not that bad. Let me be the one to make the declaration. It's not good to give up 11 hits to 17-year-olds in the FCL. Like this reimagining that the Florida Complex League is the second hardest league in baseball behind the majors. Like, I get it. He's maybe down there working on specific things. Maybe it's a specific location and yes, these high schoolers essentially are very aggressive hitters. It's not a good sign. I'm not especially heartened. I'm not saying it's over and it's time to fold it all up, but like this idea that like everyone was rushing over themselves with absolutely no information to be like, it's not that bad. And then you have someone actually do journalism and be like, I'm going to talk to somebody who was there. What did they think? That person also said it looked very bad. It's not good. It's obviously not a death sentence, but it's not good. Whatever he is working on, whether it be a fastball in the zone, whether it be the slider, it was figured out pretty quick. The team is saying all the right things. I certainly don't think it's like, certainly wasn't celebrating like, oh yes, 9 runs and 11 hits and 2 2/3.
John Schneider was asked about yesterday, and he mentioned the fact that the slider wasn't that great once again, right? Which obviously it's been a big issue all season long. If the slider is still bad, or as bad as it was, isn't that part of the reason why Jays fans are still gravely concerned?
100%. I mean, he doesn't have the Nate Pearson 103-mile-an-hour fastball. He doesn't have the plus changeup. Those two pitches are there to complement the out pitch, and the out pitch is the slider. If it's not working, no matter where he goes, no matter who he pitches to, clearly it's going to get hit. That was sort of the bread and butter. That was his out pitch. That was his go-to in his very successful beginning of his career. So yeah, in terms of like he's down there to work on one thing, you would assume that thing he's working on is the slider. And it being the report that didn't look good, it's concerning. There's no reason to say that it isn't.
Zoobs, we all have talked about the negative, but what's next for Alek Manoah? Does he stay in the Florida Complex League? Do they just keep him away from the media? Like, what's next for Alek Manoah and his development to get back to the big league?
Yeah, I would guess he's going to stay in the FCL through the All-Star break would be my guess. That's the second week of July. I think the 11th is the All-Star game. So that gives you probably 2 more looks at him in that complex league. And then hopefully he rejoins you after the All-Star break. We're also at the point, I mean, July, not that it's banging the door down, but Hyunjin Ryu is probably about a month away as well. They're sort of lucky that they haven't had a single pitcher injury to the starting rotation yet. That's very rare. That doesn't happen very often. So I would guess that they're going to say, based on how that looked and based on the reports that it was the slider not looking too good, I'm going to guess 2 more looks down there. Part of the reason he's in the FCL is that there's also no footage of it really. Like, it's not like he's playing even in Buffalo, where you could have the amateur scouts sort of looking at it and analyzing it. He's down there in the complete dark, in front of, coaches and computers. So I would guess 2 more looks. I would say best case scenario, you're talking about the first start back after the All-Star game. But if Trevor Richards is going to pitch the way he pitched yesterday, what's the rush?
Yeah, 3 shutout frames for Trevor Richards yesterday. So do you think he makes another start for the Jays this season? Your opinion?
Yes, I'll say they're gonna. I'll say he probably will. I think, they're gonna get to a point here where they're gonna need some relief. That they've been working these 4 starters that they have, absolutely working these guys really to the bone. I mean, you're getting a ton of innings out of Gausman. You're getting a ton of innings out of Bassett. You're getting a lot of innings out of Barrios. Those 3 guys are giving you a lot of innings, and you're getting 5 reliably from Kikuchi, and then your bullpen day. I think they're going to need to have some help. They're going to need to have some guys come in and give them some innings, whether it is Ryu that comes in. I think September we will probably see Alek Manoah again, and maybe even as early as August or late July.
Tielemans is getting back slowly, but surely. Do you think we'll see him at some point this season? And if so, how much?
I have my doubts. I mean, as high as the prospect reports are, you are talking about a guy that was in junior college as a teenager 2 years ago, is blowing people away with the velocity. But the question was always sort of a matter of control, as it very often is with young fireballers. I don't know that missing 2 full months of pitching and still having control issues is conducive to be ready for the major leagues. A month later, I would guess they're probably going to pump the brakes a little bit on that. I think in an ideal world, he would be blowing away the competition down there, and he would be sort of not a deadline ad, but you often do see competing good teams call up the stud pitcher in September. There's a world where he pitches unbelievably in July and August, and the minor league season ends, and he's a part of the September team. I'm a little doubtful on that. It's sort of a really important year, right? It's not a runway year. It's not a learn and see year. If he's absolutely unhittable, that's one thing. But I think if he's just normal, if he's just the way he was before, and the control isn't quite there, and he's still sort of nursing back the arm health, I would guess they'll err on the side of caution there.
Zoobs, we're a month away from the MLB trade deadline. The Jays are obviously going to be positioned to buy, I think, because they want to make a push for the playoffs. We talked about, their pitching staff and how they're just 1 injury away from catastrophe. Could a former Blue Jays pitcher and Marcus Stroman be the key to fix that issue?
No,
just to improve the mood around the media, nothing else.
Yeah, finally get some good vibes going. I mean, he's certainly be on the list. I think he'll be pretty sought after. He's been the best pitcher in the National League for big stretches of this year. He's pitching really well, and he feels his position very well. And he's a guy that can do it and has done it. And just ask him; he's really ready to work in the big moments under the bright lights. But that's a guy that's going to be in a bidding war. And the question right now with the Blue Jays, and I think it sort of goes back to last offseason or last trade deadline, and it's even more this trade deadline. Do they even have the assets to get into a bidding war? Do they even really have obviously you can do the Whit Merrifield deal was a nice piece of business. They didn't give up a whole lot in that. Those pieces will be there. But if you're talking about the top of the market, I don't know if they're going to have the assets or the willingness to part with those assets. I mean, if you're going after Marcus Stroman, it's going to be Tiedemann and Arelvis plus, and those are the sort of the 2 pieces. There are some other ones in there, but those are sort of the 2 main ones. And if you keep dealing from that strength, eventually you're having this sort of generation turnover when you lose your free agents and there's nobody to restock with. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kick the tires and they go after it. Whether or not they had the pieces to get it done, that's another whole other conversation.
Zoobs, I want to talk about Bo Bichette. The guy's been spectacular this season. 13-game hit streak going on right now, which is a career high for him. Second in the league in hits. He's always in and around that mark anyway. But this season, it seems different. The defense is obviously there so far. What are you seeing from him that's so different from seasons past?
Yeah, he looks locked in. He looks like he's not missing anything. And he the last couple of seasons he's had those great second halves to catch up to things. I think it's just been a matter of carrying that momentum forward and sort of maybe figuring some things out and being aggressive, but being, I don't want to call it selectively aggressive, but he's a guy that's willing to use the whole field. He's a guy that it's not pull. He goes opposite field more than anybody in baseball. He hits everything hard. It's also just growth, right? Like, I think it's easy to forget when you talk about Vlad and Bo, like, oh, these guys are in their, fourth seasons, their third seasons, their fifth seasons. A lot of the time, baseball prospects don't even debut until they're 25. So he's on one hand, he is a veteran. On the other hand, he is at an age where guys are making their debuts, where guys are in the minors rounding these skill sets out, and you see them come up and they're a little more well-rounded. I think he's just hitting that part of his career. This is the early part of his prime. It makes sense to me that he has continued to get better and has sort of unlocked that. Baseball at the highest level is about adjustments and adjusting to the adjustments. And he's in a spot now where there almost isn't an adjustment to make, hitting in the 320s and really doesn't have a way to be pitched around. He's dangerous with 2 strikes. He's dangerous early in the count. He'll take his walks if he has to. He doesn't really want to, though, but he's hitting with power. He's hitting to all fields. As you said, cleaning up the defense quite a bit. The throws have been under control. He's making athletic plays. It's been a real joy. He's been the best player on the team, and it's not particularly close. I just think it's a matter of growing into his prime and sort of being on that timeline and being at the stage of his career where you see baseball players really start to put it all together.
He's hitting a career average 300. Do you think he keeps it up long enough to finish his career with 3,000 hits?
Oh, boy. I mean, listen.
Are we really going there?
We're going there.
Oh,
wow.
We're there.
Wow.
We are definitely going there.
I mean,
588 hits so far.
He did lead the league in hits the last 2 seasons, right?
He's 2,500 left.
He's almost there. Anything can happen. He certainly has the skill set. He certainly has the profile for it, right? He's not a dead pull hitter. He's not a one-pitch type of guy. He can put it wherever it's pitched to him and has that bat speed and has that control. 3,000 hits, we will see, but he's certainly a guy that is going to be near the top of the hit leaderboard every year of his career.
Mr. 3000, Bo Bichette.
Mr. Positivity over there, right?
Oh, jeez, man.
What's with this show these days? I tell you, and we're looking so far in the future. But very quickly, let me skew it back to the negative here, okay?
Finally.
Why not? Very quickly, is there one player that the Jays fear losing the most over, to long-term injury? Is it a pitcher? Is it a Gosman? Is it a Vladdy? Is it a Bo? I mean, that's pretty negative, I know. But, I mean, the depth, like you mentioned, isn't great. So is there one player they cannot lose?
I think it might be George Springer in terms of he's a guy that has been injured the last few years, a guy that really makes the whole thing hum right at the top of the lineup. If Springer is out, then you're playing Varsho and Kiermaier every day. Kiermaier is another guy that needs rest days. If Kiermaier is on a rest day and Springer is hurt, then you have second baseman playing both your corner outfield positions in Merrifield and Biggio. It's just not where you want to be. They don't have the fourth out. I guess Nathan Lucas, I guess Jordan Luplow, I guess you can go to the minors. They don't really have the depth there. Obviously, Bichette and Vladdy, if you lose Bichette, you'll still have a shortstop, but you do have enough middle infield depth of major league talent that there's at least guys that play the position you could plug in. If you lose Springer for an extended period of time, the top of the lineup gets a little murky, the outfield gets a little murky. Then suddenly Kiermaier is in trouble. It trickles down pretty bad, but if not Springer, boy, any pitcher, if they lost Gosman, if they lost Bassett, if they lost Barrios, they'd be in trouble quick.
Yeah, they can't lose Mr. 3000, Bo Bichette. Zoobs, you're the best, man. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
My pleasure, fellas. Have a great show.
All right, take care. That's Andrew Zuber, the Zoobs, one of our favorites.
He's fantastic. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
That was not a fantastic take by you, though.
That's not a take, it's a question.
It does put, though,
than...
3,000 hits into perspective, right?
Yes,
how many that actually is. If
it's
Bo's on 588, whatever he is now, and it's incredible.
We'll ask Sean coming up in the next block.